Welcome back to another edition of the Unknown Sports Podcast. I am your co-host AJ Musser. Joined with me as always is Hunter Harris. Hunter, dude, how's it going today?
What's up, man? We're live. Well, not live, I guess.
We wanted to be live. That was part of the secret we were holding out from you listeners last week. But we are doing some different stuff today. What we're going to be doing with the podcast going forward is Hunter and I are going to go to a liquor store known as Macadoodles, and we're going to be purchasing a 6-pack of beer. In this week's choice, we're going with Longboard made by the Kona company. It's nice and blurry there. I know you can't read it, but trust us, that's what we're drinking on today. Kona's a Hawaiian beer, and this is one of their main ones. So, Hunter, let's pop the top, dude. Pour it up. What are you pouring into right now? You got a nice frosty mug, or is it
Well,
melted a little?
I had a frosty mug before we tried to go live 17 times, but since it's a half hour later, it's a little bit melted. But
All right,
here we
we're
go.
doing the Irish mug, and we're gonna do a nice pour. So, Hunter,
Because
this
we're
is where your pour
classy
is
here.
really gonna be tested at.
We're classy here. We don't just drink straight out of the bottle. Sorry.
No, we gotta look good while we
Or
do
a
it.
can. Gross.
And we're gonna be hosting up the bottles every once in a while throughout the show, just to let you folks know that we like this beer. So, Hunter, cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Let's dive
Let's do
into it, man. This is actually my first time having this one. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
All right,
Let's talk some
let's
sports,
keep going
man.
then. Let's talk some sports. All right. We're going to be talking NFL as usual. First, we're going to dive into the news like we normally do. Then we're going to be hitting up, previewing the games for this week, and we're going to be giving you our fantasy insights brought to you by Kona, and they're not even sponsoring us. Take it away, Hunter.
Well, news-wise, it seems like every week this is supposed to be basically just become the who's got COVID and whose games getting postponed and stuff. But so far, we don't have any of those. So, as far as news goes, we don't have a whole lot.
Well, some people say no news is good news, and with all this COVID stuff going on, no news is definitely good news. I know that there were some flurries of like some chats about false negatives and stuff going on, but as of Wednesday night, all of the games are on track to be played Sunday, which is pretty nice. But with no news, dude, let's get going with Thursday night football. How much are you looking forward to the Danny Dimes New York Giants going up against the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, this is the best division in football, and you can tell because because they're all so closely together and it's so competitive, right?
That is true. You can say that. It is really closely competitive, and best division in football is definitely. I don't know if we could say that, but it is definitely going to be competitive.
It's going to be something. The winner of this division may not have a winning record, which is going to be really controversial for how this is all formatted. I think. Do you think that you sent me a Dan Patrick clip earlier today where it's, they should do away with if you're under 500, you can still make
If
the
you're under
playoffs.
500 and you win your division, they should just if everyone in your division is under 500, that playoff spot should just be an extra wild card for someone else to get into the playoffs.
I definitely kind of agree with that. This is ridiculous at this point. They've been bad like the past few years, but this year it's really bad.
At this point, this division is like a middle school gym class, and you have the you're in your badminton phase, and you've got your 2 weeks of badminton, and everyone that first week is getting used to playing badminton. Then the tournament starts, and during the tournament, the losers drop, and at the very end, there's the toilet bowl between the two worst teams, and the NFC East is the toilet bowl, and we're gonna see who comes out the poopy champ. Who
Did
do
you
you
have
got
that
in this one?
prepared?
Philadelphia is the 4-point favorite.
Did you
I
have that
took
whole
Danny
analogy
Dimes.
prepared there?
I didn't actually. That's all on the
Wow.
spot.
Off the
That's
rip.
improvisation. Uh,
Who are you taking
Philly's
in
a
this?
4-point favorite. I took Danny Dimes last week, but I'm going to go with Philly this week. I don't know why. I just don't think the Giants can put two games back to back together and win another one. I'm going fit with Philly on this one. What do you think?
I agree. Philly needs to win this game, and I think that the Giants are a slightly worse team. Yeah, Philly. I don't think Philly's the best in this division. I still think the Cowboys, talent-wise, are the best, but Philly may end up winning this division just because they can somehow squeak their way to the most amount of wins. I'm taking Philly here. Fantasy,
All
any
right.
guys you like here?
No, none.
No.
Zippo, nada. What
Mile,
about you? You got anyone for Philly that you like?
we got to talk about Boston Scott, who's going to be playing running back for Philly, or at least supposed to be. He might split time with Corey Clement. We'll see. Miles Sanders is supposed to be out. We got to talk about Travis Fulgham, who's been really good. I don't love playing him just because of the name, but he's had 2 weeks here in a row where he's been good. And on the Giants side of the ball, I'm not playing anybody. So
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game on the list. We've got the Detroit Lions at the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta coming off their first win of the season against Minnesota last week. Atlanta's a 2.5-point favorite after their first win. Is that because there's a little bit of faith in Atlanta, or is it that Detroit's that bad?
I think it's faith in Atlanta. They had a bounce back week after their coach got fired and looked pretty dang good. I think more of that's to be accredited to Julio Jones, who was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's out there, he opens everything up for Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan, when he's just got Calvin Ridley, we've seen here in several instances where he just can't get it done. So I think it's more the Julio Jones factor and the respect to that offense.
Yeah, I took Atlanta in this one because I have faith in Atlanta's offense going forward with Julio back on the field, and Calvin Ridley has been playing at a high level all season. And their defense made a few stops in the last game, which they hadn't gotten all year. So if their defense can just put together a couple of stops for Matt Ryan in this offense a couple times a game, excuse me, the Kona's coming up trying to make me burp. But if we I like Atlanta in this one to beat the Lions, probably by 5. If I was going to pick the score of this one, I'd probably say 28-24, even though that's only by 4 points.
I'm going Lions. I think this is too much respect for the Falcons, and I think Detroit still thinks they can compete here, and Matt Patricia is playing for his job still every week. I'm taking the Lions.
Moving on to the next one, we've got the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans coming off their bye week. They're 7.5-point favorites. I took New Orleans in this one coming off the bye. I haven't looked, but I think Michael Thomas is coming back. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so with Michael Thomas back, Drew Brees off a bye week, Sean Payton putting together a game plan off a bye week, I don't see them losing this game to Carolina.
Yeah, I hear you. I do think, though, Carolina's a decent to good team, and I've been off of them all year, and they just keep proving me wrong that they can compete. And last week they lost to a Bears team that, while I think has some bad moments, is still a pretty dang good team. I'm taking Carolina here to cover, but I could easily see this being a Drew Brees to Michael Thomas, just put up 40 points and boat race them at home. It's very possible. Yeah. Fantasy-wise, you know the guys on the Saints side. Anybody in Carolina you're looking to play?
No, nobody for Carolina. Maybe a little DJ Moore action. But, yeah, that's probably about it. Unless you're really hurting that quarterback and you need some Teddy Bridgewater action. But
Robbie Anderson right now is on pace to have like 1,200 yards, I believe it is. He's either second or third. I can pull this up here in the league in receiving yardage. Do you think that he's the real deal now for them?
I was pretty hit or miss on Robbie Anderson. I thought he was pretty overrated going into free agency. And right now, I wouldn't say I'm 100% eating my words on that, but I do feel like it was a pretty poor take. And I think I might have been jumping the gun on him because he was in an Adam Gase system, which I think is probably what was holding him back there. So he is a better wide receiver, and he does look like maybe a top 20 receiver in the league in this Carolina offense compared to the Jets offense. So, yeah, he's a pretty good little fantasy piece to have, in my opinion.
He is. He's able to stretch the field for them. And, yeah, like you said, getting away from Gase, it's amazing how good players look. we're gonna see Le'Veon Bell maybe do that too here. So
Let's move on to the next one. We've got the Buffalo Bills coming off another tough loss, dropping 2 games in a row, and they're going to be heading to the slump-busting New York Jets. That's a dub on the list for Buffalo, being a 13-point favorite. I'm going to gladly eat the points on that one.
Are you sure on that one?
I did take the Jets one time this season when they were 13-point underdogs to the Colts. And yeah, I should have just dropped a bowling ball on my foot instead of doing that. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills in this one.
I agree completely.
I want to add to that real quickly. Josh Allen's had 2 mediocre weeks. I expect him to blow up in this Jets game, and he's going to put up some big fantasy points in this one. I'm looking forward to that on Sunday. Help me out, Josh Allen. I'm on a slump in fantasy. I could use your help.
Well, I hope he sees that. The Jets are awful. They're the worst team in football. They're going to go 0-16. Give me the Bills. Fantasy, I'm not playing anybody on the Jets ever. Maybe Jameson Crowder in the right matchup, but I don't think this is it. Give me Buffalo all the way. Oh, and start your Buffalo running back, Devin Singletary, I believe, because in garbage time, who's going to have to run the ball every single play when they're up by 40?
That's hard for me to agree with you on that one.
As
a Devin Singletary owner 2 weeks in a row.
I know.
On my 2 fantasy teams, he's combined for less than 10 points, hurting me in a big spot. I needed him. The first one that I lost was to you. I was losing by 9. You and I, we probably should have talked about that on the podcast, talked about our little head-to-head battle we had that weekend. But anyway, I was down by 9 to you and had the Bills defense in Singletary left, and I freaking got 0 points because the Bills defense got me -4 and he got me 4.9. But so I'm going to go with
that's good. 0.9 positive.
That's positive for you, yeah.
Yeah, congrats.
But I agree with you though that I think that this is the week that Singletary kind of gets out of his slump because the New York Jets are just so kind to every other team in the NFL.
They're really sweethearts when it comes to helping teams get back on track. 2-game losing streak here.
Jets fans might be disappointed, but Jets fans, you just got to be happy that you've got the nicest team in the league.
They really are.
A happy Sunday.
And I don't know why their fans are ashamed of them. They should be proud of how nice they are to these other teams.
You know what? They probably should sign Adam Gase to an extension. If they haven't gotten rid of him by now, they're probably just working on contract extensions, and that's what's going on. He's just holding the team back because he wants that extension before he moves forward to phase 2. Moving on to the next game, the Cleveland disappointing Browns against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland's a 3-point favorite. Hunter, you watched more of the Cleveland game on Sunday than I did because I turned it off after the first quarter. What did you see out of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, I gave it 2 quarters, and I thought that it was horrific and awful. And Baker looked as bad as you've been saying he is. But I'm going to push back here. They were going against what I think is maybe the best defense in the league with the Steelers. So
it absolutely is. I agree with you 100% that the Steelers defense is the best in the league, and we just haven't heard as much about them because they had the game delayed because of the COVID stuff, and they've kind of taken a couple games to put it all together. But I think, like I said earlier in an episode, that going down the stretch, this is going to be one of the Super Bowl contenders when it comes to the end of the season because this offense is stacked. Chase Claypool's making a name for himself, and this Pittsburgh defense is unreal.
As far as it pertains to this game and what we should take away, from the Cleveland's performance last week, I think we can pretty much throw 90% of it out the window because they're playing the Bengals this week.
Yeah.
They're favored by 3. I'm taking them. I think that's a no-brainer pick. As much as I want to take my boy Joe Burrow, can't do it. Yeah. Can't do it. Browns are going to make the playoffs.
So before I give my pick, I want to give my diagnosis of what I've seen thus far with Baker Mayfield. Baker's footwork, you go ahead and sit back, get your popcorn out. Baker's footwork is incredibly poor. When he's in the pocket, he gets antsy and he just stands flat-footed, and he might try to bounce out of the pocket. He does one of two things. If he's in the pocket and the pocket's collapsing, he doesn't step up to make a throw. He doesn't look around to see, okay, do I have any escape pockets? He kind of just crumbles, or he just chucks it.
Yeah.
Number two, what he does is if he gets the snap and he feels the pressure, he just takes off, and he has no clue what he's doing when he takes off. He's taken off, and he takes off to his right side every single time. He doesn't go left ever. It's like Zoolander. He does not turn left. He gets the snap, and he just goes right immediately, and he looks for a throw down the right sideline because that's all he can do. If a team, we always talked about it, everyone always talked about it with Tom Brady. If you pressure Tom Brady up the middle, it gives him fits. With Baker Mayfield, if you pressure him up the middle, he pees his pants. And it's just lucky that he's wearing orange pants or brown pants because you can't tell. I'm sorry.
Clip
You
that.
can go ahead.
Clip that and post that.
Yeah. I think my blood pressure just went up.
Yeah, it went pretty much when you pressure him, he folds, like a lot of quarterbacks that are mediocre to bad quarterbacks, which I guess Baker is now, so I might have to take the L on that because I was a Baker supporter there for a while, and I can't stand for what I've seen
day
for
one on that draft, you were like, dude, I think that's a
dude.
solid
He throws
pick.
a nice ball,
And I said, dude, no, it's not. And no, he doesn't throw a nice ball. He throws 100 miles per hour every time because that's what he feels like he has to do. He's got little man syndrome in the pocket. He steps up and he throws it like he's trying to, shoot the ball out of a cannon. And he does it just to prove, oh, yeah, I've got a big arm. No, you don't, pal. You're just zipping it down the field because that's what you feel like you need to do. He overthrew OBJ on the right sideline by 10 yards. Last week in the game on a sideline throw, shot it 10 feet over his head on a laser that it didn't need to be a laser. There was 5 yards of cushion on the sideline. Anyway, we can move off of Cleveland. I took the Browns in this one. Shut up, AJ. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Pittsburgh's a 2-point favorite. Go, Hunter.
it's okay to air your
God,
grievances,
I need this Kona longboard right now.
I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game, or excuse me, no, I'm taking Tennessee in this game. I've been very openly and honestly vocal with my criticisms of Mike Tomlin as a coach. They're playing against another undefeated team here in the Tennessee Titans. I believe the Tennessee Titans, while they do lean on their they do lean on their run game, which the Steelers are so good at stopping. Yeah, I think that they can still get it done here. Derrick Henry's a different animal here that they have faced, and I think that Tannehill honestly could even get it going this week. I'm taking.
Say Tannehill get it going?
I mean, he's gotten it going, but he could carry the load this week, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because the Tannehill getting it going, the guy is getting it going, and PFF, everything I'm seeing, he's top 5 in everything, and all of his efficiency stats, his throws under pressure,
he's a
all of that stuff.
Top 5 to 10 fantasy quarterback that you can play the rest of the year, I think.
He's a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the league right now, and you know why? And it's not a purely like talent thing. I don't want to come across as he's more talented than X, Y, and Z quarterback. He's in a system that fits him so perfectly that, like, if he went anywhere else, he wouldn't be what he is right now. He's just in the absolute perfect offense with the perfect system. If that offensive coordinator leaves, I think his name's Arthur Smith. I hope I'm getting that right. If Arthur Smith leaves at the end of the season, that offense is going to go topsy-turvy, and Tannehill's going to probably go back to what he was in Miami. But I was a fan of him with the Finns and always thought that there was potential, and he's living up to that potential right now because he's finally in the system that he needs to be in. That's pretty much dragged by Derrick Henry. Like, if you and I would agree that if we do the trucker trailer test on Ryan Tannehill, he's a trailer. Like, he's not pulling the load of that.
He's a game manager.
Yeah, he is, and he's good at it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Tom Brady's made a pretty good career of it.
Yeah. What do you think of Mike Vrabel and what you're seeing out of him this year? Because he looks pretty dang good.
Mike Vrabel is Bill Belichick 2.0. Really big fan of what he does.
2.0?
And his clock man. Yeah, like the next
Like
in
the
line.
next,
Like once
really?
Belichick is gone, it's going to be Rabel. Yeah, there's a video from last week that he sent out a 13th guy on defense, and the whole team's like, "Hey, why are you doing this?" He was taking the penalty on purpose, and he faked mad about it so that it would stop the clock, and it saved them 45 more seconds, which in the end got them 45 more seconds to drive the ball downfield, throw the game-tying touchdown pass, and win the game in overtime. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. I don't remember who the video is from, but it's just one
It's
of
Warren
those
Sharp.
IQ 5,000 plays that only Bill Belichick in this league of head coaches thinks about doing, and just cheating the rules to win the game. Not even cheating the rules. He's just using them. He knows the rule book. And that's what Vrabel does as well. And he did it against Belichick last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I hear you on all of that, and I think he's a dang good coach. But where I'm going to push back on he's the next Belichick 2.0 is that Belichick dominates in preparation. He dominates in the culture. He dominates in like every aspect. And to me, it seems like Vrabel really, while he has a nice culture, I think that his preparation is not near the level of Belichick. While he still is great at in games adjustments, as you were talking about in that clip here, he can adjust on the fly. But I don't think his preparation's the same as Belichick.
But you've got to remember that. I mean, you were pretty young when the Patriots dynasty started. Bill Belichick, he started that, and at the time there wasn't a Patrick Mahomes in the league. There was nothing big. There was nothing dominating in the league, like no team that was dominating. The league was open for someone to take the reins, whereas this Titans team has to go through Kansas City. They had to go through New England. They've got Baltimore they've got to deal with. And then on the NFC side, it's loaded. We could go on for another minute or two about it. So there's just more competition that Vrabel's in the early stages. I'm not saying the Titans are going to end up being a dynasty. I'm just saying they're going to be a formidable opponent for the next 10 years as long as Vrabel's there.
I agree with that for sure. I think that's
All
a
right.
good summary.
We've spent too much time on the Titans, but I
wait,
picked
before
the
we
Steelers.
move on,
Who did
any
you pick in this
fantasy
one?
guys you like here? Oh, and I took the Titans, by the way.
AJ Brown. AJ Brown's going to catch a couple passes. I don't think he's going to get a huge amount of targets because of that pressure that the front seven of Pittsburgh puts on teams. But AJ Brown will get a couple catches. I bet he walks away with the touchdown in this one.
I think at this point you can start Claypool until he proves you otherwise. And we got to talk about the tight end for Tennessee, Ferkser, who was the number one tight end in fantasy last week, and stepping in for Jonnu Smith, who was injured. And I believe he's out this week. Don't quote me on that, so double check that. But if you need a tight end to play, Ferkser, if Jonnu Smith is out, is a great play. So I like him.
Moving on to our next game, we've got the Dallas Cowboys against the Washington football team. Cowboys are a 1-point favorite in this one. You picked up Andy Dalton last week to take the reins of your fantasy teams at the quarterback position. Yeah, go ahead and drink to that one so you can forget about it a little bit. But what do you see going on in this game this weekend? We don't need to spend much time on this one, really. You can just diagnose it real quick, do your typical rip on Mike McCarthy, and we can pretty much move on.
Mike McCarthy sucks. There was a story that came out about how they can't prepare at all and they don't deserve to be coaches in any form. That was a story that was released by their players. I'm taking Dallas here.
That was reported by
just
James
because
Slater.
They should win this game, and Washington's bad. This whole division's so bad. It's unwatchable. Please don't watch this game, guys. I'm begging you. Please don't watch this game.
That being said, you got any fantasy people to look for in this one?
Amari Cooper got it done in garbage time last week. I think you can play him, and I'm not freaking out yet on these other Cowboys receivers because, Dalton was in prime time last week, so maybe it gets better from here because he's always been bad in prime time, but,
Yeah, we'll see what he does in a buried Sunday afternoon game.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one, we've got your Green Bay Packers at the Houston Texans. Green Bay is a 3.5-point favorite in this one. Houston coming off that tough overtime loss after having the lead against Tennessee. What do you expect from Green Bay this weekend, bouncing back from that tough loss in Tampa? I mean, they've gone in the last 3 quarters without scoring points now.
3 quarters. Um. Yeah. I don't know how much I want to talk about last week because it was a very dark day
We
for
don't
me.
have to. Take a drink.
It was.
You know what? That brings us to our next segment real quickly. Rogers, we know you had one bad week. We're going to forget about it. Let's take a drink. You go ahead and pour up your little 2 fingers of your scotch. Sit back. Maybe add a 3rd finger to it. Take a drink of it and forget about last week. Move on and go kick the Texans' ass. Here's to you.
Which is what's going to happen. He's going to kick the Texans' ass. But, last week was bad. There's no no dancing around it. Bad on all levels, offense, defense. It was a flashback to me of last year going against the 49ers when they just dominated us in literally every aspect of the game, and they were in Rodgers' face every play. Well, that's what happened again, and it was, our offensive line couldn't hold up, and I know we lost Bakhtiari there, but it was bad before that. And this is just it makes me really wish that we had spent some better that we had made some better picks here this year. And
like taking, I don't know, some kind of worthwhile position instead of a quarterback in the first round that doesn't even dress. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm ripping on you this episode. I don't mean to do that. You're in a dark place right now. But yeah, you're right. If the Packers would have drafted a better position, maybe some help, in my opinion, on the defensive line, or a receiver for Aaron Rodgers would be pretty good too. I think Tanyan's going to be an okay tight end for him. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. And Devontae Adams and that receiving core are going to be okay, but I think that they could have used a Henry Ruggs or something like that. Sorry, continue with your thought.
The defensive coordinator for the Packers is awful. There's a clip going around where there was 3rd and 2, and they're lined up 12 feet off the ball, and they just throw it for an easy first down, and it's just so. We just got to be better, and I hope that we can be, but it's not looking good on the defensive side, especially. Rodgers will bounce back for sure, though. So, and our offense will as well. So I'm thinking that we wax the Houston Texans this week.
And I'm looking forward to watching that one. Let's move on to the Seattle-Arizona game. Arizona putting the beating on Dallas last weekend, but does that really count as a win? And Seattle's the 3.5-point favorite this week. My golden rule. We've been talking about it the past couple of weeks. I don't pick against Russell Wilson, and I don't pick against Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking the Seahawks in this one at Arizona. Arizona's defense, I don't know whether they were playing well last week. I mean, I saw Budda Baker won Defensive Player of the Week in the NFC. Good for him. We like Budda Baker on this big podcast. But putting up 38 points on Dallas's defense, isn't that like going down the street and like putting up 42 touchdowns on the 8-year-olds when you're a freshman in high school? Like, I don't think it counts, does it?
It's like me out there playing on our our 3-on-3 that we do every week, just pushing around kids. Except I'm not scoring all that much, which we don't need to touch on that.
But I'm bigger and stronger. 3-on-3 pickup games. No, we're not going to do that. No.
Anyways, it's Seattle to me here. Arizona got a great win last week, and they should feel happy about that. But it's not happening again here. Seattle is too good. They are going to win this game, and they are going to cover.
I almost don't think that the spread in this one is enough. I think that the desert people are thinking too highly on Arizona to make this a 3.5. If I was actually going to bet money like you do on the weekends, I'd be putting money down on the Seattle game with the points.
I agree. Fantasy-wise, I think you can play both Lockett and Metcalf and Chris Carson. And as far as on the other side of the ball, I like Kenyon Drake, and I feel disgusting saying that, but he is getting all the touches in the world. He's going to get it going. He got it going last week. And I know that last touchdown was a little bit garbage, and they didn't really need it, and he could have fallen down. They still would have won the game. But I like playing him still here because he's getting all the touches, and that's number one. The number one rule is play the people that get the touches. So, Kenyon Drake.
All right, moving on to our next one. We've got Kansas City at the Denver Broncos. Kansas City is a 9.5-point favorite. Denver coming off a game where they scored 18 points and 0 touchdowns. Good for you, Brandon McManus, earning your contract. 6 for 6 on field goals on the day and walking away with the dub at New England in what was probably the ugliest game last weekend. But that being said, back to the golden rule. We don't pick against Patrick Mahomes on this end. I'm going with Kansas City. I think this offense is starting to click. I think Kelsey's going to score at least a touchdown in this one. And I think it's due time that Patrick Mahomes throws about a 60-yard bomb into Tyreek Hill's lap. So let's look forward to seeing one of those this weekend too. What do you think?
For all you Kansas City fans out there that think that the Chiefs have gotten
too public service announcement.
Yeah, if you think that the Chiefs have gotten too conservative and they are just, not throwing the ball near enough to be as explosive, well, sorry, but you're wrong. What they're doing is they're going against teams that are playing the pass 100%. They're backing off of them, saying, please, just nickel and dime, run the ball all you want. We're not giving up the deep ball. And it's working, kinda. And then last week, we see them just gash them for 240 yards, was it? Something like that. And it was just...
yeah.
Okay. But it was just insane how they could run the ball with ease, except for the fact that they're backing off of them, encouraging it, just so that they can stay in the game offensively, which is kind of what the Bills did, even though that game was decidedly won, in my opinion. They were trying to keep it close, and that's what they were doing. So if you're a Chiefs fan, don't freak out. This is what they're doing. Just keep hoping your run game works, and Patrick Mahomes is going to have to nickel and dime his way down the field because that's what teams are going to play against him. But I'm taking the Chiefs here in this matchup. 9.5 against a poor Denver team. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs put up 466 total yards compared to the Bills' 206. So Buffalo is still walking away with 17 points on 206 yards. I mean, that's a pretty good game, for what your output is. It looks like they were scoring. That's a game that I had to work that night. I didn't get to watch it, which was a bummer because that was one that I definitely had on my sites that I wanted to watch. But yes, the Chiefs outran the Bills 245 yards to 84 yards. So the Chiefs pounded the ball that game. And that's obviously not the norm. But yeah, like you're saying, when the defense plays off of Kansas City, it's like, hey, why don't we nickel and dime? Because Patrick Mahomes, he's not dumb. He'll take the checkdowns and stuff. Sure, it's not sexy. It's not the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball. But he'll nickel and dime his way down the field just because he wants to win. And that's like one of the things I like about him. The guy just wants to win. There's not many things I like about Patrick Mahomes because we live in Kansas City fan nation and they drive us insane.
Did you see he's having a girl now? Wow.
Oh my gosh. Shut up. We're moving on.
We should have led with that.
No, we're not talking about Patrick Mahomes and his girlfriend's child. San Francisco at New England. New England is 2.5-point favorites after falling to the Denver Broncos and after San Francisco put the beat down on the Los Angeles Rams. I don't understand this one. That's a super easy pick for me. I'm taking San Francisco. I took them last week. I said that Shanahan's going to get this team turned around. They're going to get back on the right track, and that's absolutely what they did, and I expect it to continue as they go into New England and beat up on the Patriots.
I'm taking the Patriots.
Whoa.
Last week was abysmal. Cam looked awful. I know he's coming off COVID. But I still think this New England team's for real. I think they can pull it together here. And if they're going to pull it together, they can't drop below 500 here. Yeah, I'm taking New England. I'm not super confident in this one because the Rams did look good last week.
Confident.
Or not the Rams. The
I almost fell asleep.
The Niners looked pretty good last week, but I'm taking New England here because Bill Belichick and the Patriots need to bounce back, and I believe in Cam Newton still to pull this together, and they can make the playoffs. And maybe, I don't know, maybe win the division because the Bills are playing good football, but it's still wide open for them if they want to make their move. So they need to win this game. New England.
That they do. Right now, they're putting the Dolphins in a pretty good position because right now it's really between the Dolphins, who are 3-3, and the Bills are 1-2 in this NFC East. And I think the race is probably just going to come down to those two teams unless New England can figure it out. But Miami's on a bye this week, and we forgot to mention that in the breaking news. Tua's the starter. I mean, sure, we're a day late on that, recording on Wednesday, but Tua being the starter, we'll talk about that at the end of the show for a few minutes because that's something that,
Gotta save that. You almost got me riled up here.
I know. We'll wait a few minutes on that one. We only got 3 games left. In fact, we can go real quick over this next one. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are an 8-point favorite, also coming off of a bye week. I took Justin Herbert in the Chargers because I like Justin Herbert. I like the direction that team's going in with their offense. I think once they get Eckler back, it's going to be a huge push in the right direction for them. But I like the direction that Anthony Lynn and this Chargers team are going in. And they've got some big injuries, too, missing out, like I said, Eckler, but also Derwin James on the back end of their defense, who's the heart and soul of that defense, next to Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. I really like this Chargers team. I would like them a lot more if they were healthy. But I got them beating up on a pretty bad Jacksonville team because Gardner Minshew is getting worse and worse every week, and every time I've picked for them, he's let me down. But every time I picked against him, he's done pretty good and let me win.
I'm taking Jacksonville here just because I think the spread is too big. 8 points is too much respect for a Chargers team that has really just stayed in a couple games. I like Justin Herbert. He looks great. We've been over this before. But while Jacksonville might be in contention for one of the top or the worst 5 teams in football, I think that this is a week where they could shine just a little bit enough to cover the spread here because 8 is a lot of points here going against a rookie quarterback. So,
well, that rookie quarterback, I just want to throw this out there real quick, put up more points against that Tampa Bay defense than Aaron Rodgers did. Back to you.
Got to fit that one in there, huh?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. It's too easy.
Yeah. Yes. Please never again. Yeah. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars to cover here. I think you can continue to play DJ Chark when he plays. On the Charger side of the ball, I like Mike Williams with Justin Herbert. I mean, he's looking for them deep, and as long as he doesn't go up for one of these big catches and come down and break his back here like he always seems to look like he's about to do, I think he's still going to be okay to play in fantasy. So play him, play Keenan Allen. Running back, I think you can play Joshua Kelly this week as well. So.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. We move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Las Vegas Raiders, who have been a kryptonite to typically pretty good teams this season, which I think is the reason for Tampa Bay only being a 3-point favorite this week. You want to take the start on this one, or you want me to go?
You go ahead here because I think I want to touch a little bit on what we saw from Brady and the Bucs last week still.
Okay. I took Tampa Bay in this one. I think that Tampa Bay looked really sharp defensively last week, and I don't think the offense came around until the defense took over the game. And I think that's what brought the momentum because at the start of that game, the Packers looked like they were pretty much in control of it those first 2 drives, working down the field on that Tampa Bay defense. And the Buccaneers offense came out on the field and they looked lost, and Brady was getting frustrated on just the second drive. But then that third drive, Rodgers throws the pick, and we know what happens from there. And then once the momentum shift in the game takes place, then Tom Brady and that offense start getting it going. So I think this week against Vegas, something like that could happen again where the offense gets a late kick and then they get going. But if they get off to an early start, they get off to a hot start, they're going to blow this Vegas team out of the water. But if they get off to a slow start, I think Vegas is going to hang around with them because of their West Coast offense that John Gruden brings to the table.
Okay, I like a lot of what you said there. I want to point out this stat here that I saw on Twitter.
Go for it.
Yeah. So Tom Brady, when facing teams that score over 18 points against him in the past 2 years, is 1-7. So,
Ooh,
other quarterbacks in that.
spicy.
It's spicy. Some other quarterbacks here that have similar situations in the past 2 years. Russell Wilson is 14-6 in that time. A lot of close, high-scoring games. Patrick Mahomes is 10-4. Aaron Rodgers is 9-5. Ryan Tannehill is 8-4. Drew Brees is 7-6. And then we got Tom Brady here with 1-7. I'm taking the Raiders here because I think they can score over 18 points a game, or in this matchup at least. And Tampa Bay is riding high from that big win that they had last week against a possible top dog in the league. So I'm taking the Raiders to show up in a bit of a letdown game at home, by the way. So
this is a little bit of an opposite one. You're taking the Raiders, who I'm very fond of this season, and you're taking them at the Death Star. If I'm wrong,
sounds pretty cool to say.
I will eat my words next week gladly, because if Vegas wins, I'll be a happy camper. I might be wrong, but I would be happy if the Raiders won. Let's move on to the Monday night game. We've got the Chicago Bears at the Los Angeles Rams. That's pretty interesting, going from on Sunday the Chargers are hosting Jacksonville, and then the next day the Rams will be hosting the Bears. So I think that's a first this season that they're going to go 2 days in a row holding a game at that stadium. That's something I just thought of. We can move on.
No, that is interesting.
The Rams are a 5.5-point favorite in this one. What do you expect to see from the Rams after a pretty rough loss to the San Francisco 49ers last week?
Last week was a bit of a prove-it game for me from them, and they did not prove it. I believe that they are still not a bad team, though. I think that they can, put up some fight here and maybe even win this game. I'm taking it's tough because that 5.5 seems a little bit too big against a team that is 5-1 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they are at home, so I'm going to take the Rams here. I think that Chicago is playing good football right now, and they may be the worst team that has 5 wins right now. So
I'm going to go against you on this one too. I'm going with the Chicago Bears. To me, this defense is coming back a little bit. I got a feeling this is going to be a really ugly, low-scoring game, because I think it's going to be the Rams defense with Aaron Donald coming up the middle on that Bears offense that is extremely shaky. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a quarterback thing. I just don't know if it's a personnel thing. I don't know what's wrong with the Bears offense. It just isn't good. But the Bears defense is coming around, and they're taking a step in the right direction. And this Rams defense is pretty solid too. I just think it's going to be a defensive game. And so I'm taking the points on this one. The Rams might win it, but I don't think they're going to blow out. I don't think they're going to win by more than a touchdown.
I hear you. Fantasy-wise, I think that you can play Darrell Henderson. I think you can play Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp, you got to continue to ride with. On the Chicago side of the ball, keep playing David Montgomery and obviously Robinson as well. So,
what about Jimmy Graham for a touchdown pass in the red zone, or touchdown reception in the red zone?
I hate saying it, but he kind of looks good this year.
I thought I'd bring that up because he hasn't had an awful year this year.
Nope.
All right, let's move on. We'll touch this topic last, and then we'll sign off. Tua taking over as the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. You are the biggest Ryan Fitzpatrick fan I know, so I want to hear your take on this before I give you a unbiased opinion on it.
It's criminal. It's awful. You can't bench a guy who has scored 6 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks and won those games. He won last week 24-0 I know we had 2 picks. I mean, who cares? They won 24-0
against the Jets.
Against the Jets. The week before that, he threw for 303 and won against the Niners. And the Niners looked pretty dang good last week. This is criminal. I think that if you're gonna make a move to Tua, you can't do it like this. This is awful to do to a guy. And he made some comments today about it. And he said it was basically he was shocked by the decision and that he thought that it was his team to basically run until he proved otherwise, and he was absolutely locked in, and he thought that this was the year for him to really feel comfortable with where he is on a team.